Why does it hurt so much when the day breaks? Why does it hurt so much when the day breaks? It's the Cornbread Man Morning Show on your radio. It's the Cornbread Man Morning Show. It's the Cornbread Man Morning Show on your radio. It's the Cornbread Man Morning Show.
Oh yeah, how we doing today? It is good morning on a Tuesday. Hope everyone is well. Get up and let's get going. It's Dave in the AM. Definitely get me unmuted over there on Podbean. Good morning, Podbean. I just ended the music. We run two different controls on that. Have to remember to do that. It's just me this morning, and on your Tuesday. Hope you're well. Let's have a great Tuesday. Got lots going on today, and got to get up and get going and get with it. A new month. Welcome to July. Oh boy, we've already been in the heat of July, but now we officially cross into July. Those hot, hot months, July and August. You know what? It's funny. Sometimes it could be even a little cooler than it has been, but we'll see. Hopefully, we won't have any of those triple-digit days. We've been right at it with the heat index. We've definitely been in it already. I'm hoping that we don't see that as we go into the next couple of months. Well, it's triple digits in Washington as they're fighting to get the big, beautiful bill. Some are fighting for it. Some are fighting against it. The margins are very narrow, very narrow. Two Republicans, we already know, Tillis. One, North Carolina, is against it. And so there's only three that can lose. It's very narrow. This is where the negotiations go, right? This is where the pork gets added. This is where the things get taken out, modified. The president is saying for his part that if it is not voted on, there's going to be a massive tax increase on Americans. We will see. This is the language when they're trying to get something done, and we will see what they're able to do. This will probably go all the way up to that midnight hour or however late it is before they go on break for the holiday. And the latest report is there may be as many as 6 Republican senators holding out. And so that's the way it goes. Now, question would be, would any Democrat cross over? We can think of one that might. It depends. Would Fetterman join with his cross the aisle and shake hands? He has done that, but can't count on that. So they're going to have to bring some of these holdouts in the fold. The two lead ones probably not going to change their minds. Senators Rand Paul, Kentucky, Tom Tillis of North Carolina. I guess if they gutted it enough, they would, but they probably will not. But there are others. There's already been deals made to win over votes. Alaska is one of those. Senator Lisa Murkowski, Republican Alaska, has already been one of those that has been given some billions with a B, into her state to help with share of nutrition assistance payments. So there's already been that, and some helps for fishermen of some deal. Anyway, $25 billion, I believe, has already been promised within this for Alaska to hold that vote. Newsmax is reporting that Senator Rick Scott of Florida, Ron Johnson of Wisconsin, Mike Lee of Utah, and Cynthia Loomis of Wyoming have demanded a vote on an amendment that would slash Medicaid further by changing the formula used to determine what share of the program's bills are paid by the federal government. Johnson said he will wait to see whether Republicans adopt that amendment before deciding whether he will support the overall legislation. Should the proposal succeed, the bill would lose the support of senators who are alarmed at the level of Medicaid cuts it would impose, as well as Republicans in the House and districts with large populations of Medicaid beneficiaries. Senator Susan Collins, Republican Maine, God, I wish she'd take that R off her name because she's not much of a Republican anyway, who is not committed to voting for the bill, planned to offer an amendment to raise the tax rate for the most affluent Americans back to what it was before the 2017 tax cuts were enacted. Collins has said she is unhappy with the legislation and that it does not contain a bigger fund to help rural hospitals, which is an issue, even in Georgia here, absorb the Medicaid cuts laid out in the bill. So there is the battle royale. Nothing new. This happens all the time. There'll be the press conferences out in front as they are in cubby holes of anywhere they can get. And they'll give their updates to their social media platforms and also give to the legacy media those interviews and lay out their beliefs and whether they're for it, against it, what needs to change. So this is a hard one. The president will see what kind of ability he has to push this through. This sets the course for his agenda for this term, and he's running some pretty good opposition. According to another article, members of the House Freedom Caucus said their Republican colleagues needed to make major changes before they can come in good conscience support the Senate version of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act because it does not contain enough spending cuts. The 32 members of the caucus took to X to voice their concern, saying the Senate version of the bill adds $651 billion to the deficit, and that's before interest costs, which nearly doubled the total, the group said on the social media platform X. That's not fiscal responsibility. It's not what we agreed to, they wrote. Republicans must do better. According to the Congressional Budget Office, the CBO, the current version of the bill would add $3.3 trillion to the national debt over the next decade. President Trump has issued a July 4th deadline for the bill to become law. So here we go. There's 960 pages. They read those off. That's before any modifications, amendments, changes are made to it. There's pictures of the staffers bringing in carts just filled with these things, copies for different people. Just imagine all the trees. In this digital age, we have to print those things off. Imagine all the trees that are cut down. We always talked about how technology would save the trees. Now, we print more now than we probably ever have, to be honest. People say we're paperless, we're this, we're that. Not exactly true. And we print in government, they use a lot of paper. A lot of paper. If you imagine the print that they have and then they make changes, you at least have to print again those pages. Maybe you don't print the whole thing, or maybe they do. Who knows? Can you imagine the reams of paper that go through? See the paper truck backing up. We need more. Oh, we need ink. We're out of ink. I could hear the copiers just whirring as they're just printing, 960 pages. It's like that scene in 9 to 5 with Jane Fonda, and I'm not a Jane Fonda fan at all, but it was a cute movie. But she messes up the copier and it's going crazy. That's what I envision. Some staffer, they're pressuring her. More copies. The thing going crazy. Papers going everywhere. Somebody comes in and goes, "What the heck is going on in here?" Oh, I've seen I've seen people get really mad at copiers before and printing things that don't work, or tickets you have to print for a job to put on a product or something. Oh, some good old boys down here. They don't like those things. We used to have the old top that came out of they just came straight out of the box. It had the punched, ends on it that you could tear the ends off and you could get your ticket. Those things were notorious for snapping right in the middle of a print, and then feeding sideways. And if you were talking, not paying attention, it's all a big mess. And people would just pull those out and try to get to a good copy. Sometimes it was just bad paper. They cut it wrong, and it would snap going through there. I was like, how are we saving money here? Then later we went to a regular ticket print operation, which we still use basically the same kind of general idea. It's just upgraded over the years, but it is smaller. I don't know what the cost is versus, but I can remember 34 years ago that was like and you always hated to be the one where it ran out. You'd say, "Oh, there's one more ticket." Nobody wanted to get the next one ready. Just the aggravation of getting paper ready. Can you imagine? It's pretty intense right now, I'd say, around the Capitol. Oh, and all the negotiations are going on, all the backdoor conversations that's going on as they try to get a deal made. We'll see what happens. There's an article on the New York Post that says that Trump threatens to unleash Doge on Musk to save money tied to his numerous government subsidies. The war of the words continues, on these things. As we see, they just can't play nice. Oh my goodness, I'm not going to go into it, but it's just more war of the words. Another, the family, and there's been a lot of talk back and forth about the sniper out in Idaho, because the family were Trump supporters, so everybody on the left began to make assumptions about this sniper named Wes Rowley. I hate to say the name, but just to be clear, that's the last time I'm going to say it. Who shot dead 2 firefighters after he lured them into the woods with a brush fire. They've now broken their silence, saying they, quote, do not understand how his heinous crimes happened. At this time, the family of, I'm not going to say his name, would like to offer our most heartfelt condolences to the families of those whose lives were taken and to the community at large. Coeur d'Alene. His family told the Post in a statement issued through their attorney, Justin Wittenden, on Monday, quote, there are no words that can suffice for this tragedy and the infinite losses suffered by those affected by this shooting. We do not understand why this happened or how it came about. They continued, our hearts and spirits are broken for the lost and hurting and for our own loss as well, the family added, explaining they intended to cooperate fully with investigators as they, quote, deal with the grief of this heinous tragedy in our own family. A social media post has been released from this person, which says, quote, I'm going hunting. That was posted hours before the attack and has him in a top of camouflage and black face or whatever they put on their face. This person, and there's a lot that we don't know, but from social media posts I've seen, this person underwent and I will use the word, a transition of sorts. To what extent that was, and we've seen some of this. I want to hear more. I'll be careful how I say that, but as obviously was changes in how this person's appearance, and this has been a problem and something that's nobody really wants to talk about. But some of these drugs that they're put on have really, altered, or maybe there's already something going on, but it enhanced that and altered their thinking to be violent. And if you look back at the mass shootings just in America, and you look at the dirty little secrets that they don't talk about, is how much, what medications they're on, what companies make those, and who's and how it has affected them. Now that could be because they overprescribed, or they overtook, or they cut out very quickly, or didn't take it correctly, or just the side effects of some of those medications that absolutely are mind altering and affect them. I don't know if that happened in this case, but there are pictures of this individual that definitely show their change. Good morning, Chucko. 21518 on Instagram. Love the American flag logo there. Appreciate you coming in this morning. Hope you're doing well. And to all those that are coming into the stream, sometimes I can't see your name unless you chat, but Instagram does show that. But we appreciate you being here. But it's a horrid thing. I mean, it's whatever the reason, it shouldn't have happened. But it's a rush to judgment. It's not the way we are right now. Is when there is a tragedy, there's always that's the first thing to go to social media for, to find out who they voted for. And it's crazy. And it happens both ways. You can find nuts anywhere. Evil people both parties. I mean, there's always that fringe movement who may support someone, or have I vote for, or even have be actively even campaigning for. I mean, both sides have had their fair share of nuts. And that's kind of a sad indication of where we're at right now in society. That's the main thing we go for, so they can rush to social media and post and say, look what this party or this party produced. Yeah, goes, we knew it. I mean, it always got some snarky comment. Now, calm down on that. Let investigations roll out. And certainly I love that podcasters and things are putting information out. And I think they should, because things are, and we do, if you have it, release it. But the intent to just go after someone, within sometimes minutes of a tragedy, once they know who it is, and scathe a political party. There may be a lot of problems with politicians. Certainly, we see that in our nation, but it's a great leap, because we always talk about how unfair it is when they do the president that way. But yet sometimes people are very quick to do that the other way without all the facts being in. But that's where we're at. So it's not going to change. It's just the nature of it, how we act as a nation now. And people are always looking for a quick gotcha, or I told you so, and some post back, and some views, and some follow backs, and I refuse to get caught up into that. My initial posts are usually, this is horrible. Pray for the families, safety to the first responders and police, and in this case, that was certainly my thoughts. But in saying all that, not going to change it. This is the way it is. But there's a lot more that needs to be investigated here. His run-ins with the law were all minor previously to this event. He appeared to be living in his car, and interacted with police at least 5 times since arriving in that community in 2024. They were minor, they said, consisted of little more than trespassing reports and welfare checks from people who saw this individual. I don't want to keep repeating the name. I don't want to give him any glory. Parked on their property. He had no criminal record in Idaho, nor in his previous homes of California and Arizona. He was born in California and endured a difficult divorce between his parents when he was 10 years old in 2015. A split which saw his father allegedly threaten to start a fire, interesting, and shoot his mother. According to court documents obtained by CNN, we'll give credit there, though the father said those accusations were false. The suspect also aspired Well, it's an interesting twist here. To be a firefighter working in forestry, according to his grandfather, and may have been in Idaho to pursue that career. Wow, that is. I had not seen that before. Um, we were in our show last night. I don't know how long this has been out there, but what a strange twist of events there. Um, as we see, sorry, I had to look at something. One of my streams was acting funny. Hopefully, it's straight now. I believe happens when you engineer for yourself. You have to look at those things. And again, there's a lot here we don't know. But if that was true, that's a very profound thing to have happen at 10 years old in a very tragic way. Very, very strange. It seems a little not coincidental. It could be a direct. I don't know, but that's 10 years old. Children, and we see this in America. Uh, Children who are in abusive relationships as a child is witnessing that between mother and father and others, but boyfriends, whatever. They certainly it could lead to that. I mean, somebody that wake up one day and all of a sudden become a wife beater uh, or an abuser of some kind. They usually have been abused or witnessed it, and it has caused problems. Now, again, there's a lot that needs to happen here. A lot of investigation, a lot of the medical part, the toxology. What was this person? What they have in their system? Were they on some of those mind altering? Were they, in fact, trying? Some people have suggested there was a change going on for them. Um, I don't know, but that's horrible. And of course, the family's getting out in front of it. I get that. Now I mean, that these last couple of mass shootings, because of failures of the parents to be parents, they have went to jail in these school shootings because they, in fact, bought weapons for their child when they knew they were having major mental issues and or gave them access to them, and just so they have been arrested. So certainly, you're going to see lawyer up. You're going to see the statement, and you're going to see we don't know what's going on here. So there'll be a lot of that, and their lives, but they could be totally innocent here. I'm certainly in no position to accuse them of anything, but their lives are ruined. I mean, we know that. I mean, just because of what's happened, they're forever attached to this. I mean, I've always wondered what that must feel like, for somebody that didn't do anything wrong, and the child has went off and did something horrid like this. Um, Even as an adult, what how do it would change your life. How do you live with that? How do people change around you? You become a pariah to the community, to many anyway. It would have to be very difficult. And if you were actively involved, it would become a legal matter, and you would be locked up maybe for a long time. Which I'm not against that. I'm just saying that would be that would change everything. And then what if there's other children involved, and how that maybe it's better that they're taken. But anyway, everybody's lives change. We go all the way back to Columbine, and I really zeroed in and researched a lot into that as much as I could from a distance. Watched every video that was released except the one they've never released. I don't think they have. I haven't searched in a while, but I never think they've ever released the one video, but watched hours of videos. And that they come from affluent, parents, people that had money, but the parents were very just not even invested. I mean, they making bombs in their bedroom and walking past with sports bags filled with shotguns and high-powered rifles and ammo and stuff. You got to be a parent. You got to investigate. There's something your gut tells you. So they didn't. I'm saying they have any idea that was going to happen, but they weren't. They weren't being what a parent does. Parents, you just got to have that gut knowledge. Something's not right. Do a little investigating. something. That's like going to, you leave home, the kids are at home, I'm going to circle back. Just make sure, give it 15, 20 minutes, circle back, make sure they didn't invite somebody over, shouldn't have been invited over, that they're, you want to have trust, but you also verify. Trust, but verify. That's definitely a parent's job. Can't play ignorant. I mean, you got to know. They're building bombs right there in your own home. You can't ignore that. I mean, you got to be involved in that and find out what's going on. So that's what was happening there. This person was off. I mean, they were away. So there's no evidence that they to this point that they were involved, that they even knew that they were actively had assisted or in any way. But it is a strange story, and my heart goes out to the firefighters, their families, and yes, to those folks. I would hate for that. I mean, if they're totally innocent to this, and like I said, I don't know if there's any siblings or anything. I haven't really dug into it deep. I've just been following the story a little bit, so we'll see what happens with that. But we're seeing a lot of a rise in this, or it seems as though, I don't know the official statistic. We're seeing, it feels like a rise in, you get the copycats, you get the others that are, and you got to be on guard. I mean, but how would you know? You're just doing your job. You get a call, brush fire, 26 acres, burning or whatever it was, and then you're coming under fire. I mean, I don't know how are we going to get to the point in America where the police have to roll in first and pave the way for the firefighters to come in? In some areas of our country, yeah, that absolutely has to happen because it's a bad area. But you don't think up in the woods like that. You just don't think about that being the case. And those people on that mountain, the thought of that, the thought that there was somebody around like that, and they couldn't even get off the mountain, And at one point, reports where there were multiple shooters, and lot going on with that. Just unbelievable. Trump further back to the Elon. He further threatens him with deportation. It's amazing how this relationship has fallen apart. I mean, absolutely has fallen apart. But one thing, though, and I said this in a MAGA Minute 3 weeks ago or so. You never want to call out the emperor, so to speak. That's not good. You don't want to go down that road. You don't want to be that person who